Hey everybody, welcome to my workshop here at Miller's Farm Shop. And today we're going to be looking at we're going to look at doing some little figures to decorate your other Christmas decorations. So we've got an idea of doing a nativity, or at least the plan is to show you the methodology around making each piece. So it's like we do on everything. It's like the carousel last week. We show you how to make each part. So hopefully you can go ahead and make it. Then it's down to you. You've got to have the time then to be able to do it. I know we're getting really close to the big day. So yeah, we're going to have a look. I'm joined here with Tom. Tom's going to convey the questions. So use the chat function, and Farmer Tom is going to be on those questions for us. So yeah, all good. Yeah, this is the last one before Christmas, actually. So Tom and I are going to be going and enjoying all the Christmas festivities. And then what, we've got another 3 or 4 days left of the shop being open, Tom, and then that's it for the year.
Yep, done. Finished Monday, is it? Monday last day?
Yeah, Monday. I think we're gonna have Christmas Eve off. I'm not sure yet. See how we go. But no, this is the last one. So we plan to start fairly quickly back into January again. So we'll keep them up every fortnight throughout the year. So it should be a rigid plan. We've now booked those sessions, and everything else has been booked around it. So we're all good. Tom, would you have a quick look at the pieces that I have on the lathe here? So we've just jigged around our cameras a little bit. So we've got a little close-up cam, because I'm going to be doing quite a lot of gluing up and things like that. So Mary's facing the other way. That's not the scene. We've just put the figures out, so I haven't set a scene or anything. We'll show you one of the scenes in a second. There's a few pieces half made. They're waiting for things. I need things like Mary. She needs her hands in the prayer position, so I'm going to have her hands like this. Where are we? Like this. In the front here, she's going to be standing over the manger. Then there's an angel or a version of Mary, depends on how you want to look at that one. That one's quite a nice one to make. And I thought we could probably make, we'll see how we get on. We might make one, or we might make both of those versions. The wise men in various forms. Again, there's one with a cane. He just minus a hand there. So we're going to put another hand. The hand will be holding one of the precious vessels, so with the gold, frankincense, and myrrh in. So we messed around a little bit with airbrushing on these, but use your discretion in terms of whether you want to use a colored timber or whether you want to color with other things. You might want to go gold and silvers and things like that, you see. And the same with skin tone as well. There's so many different timbers out there that you can go to whatever skin tone you want to do. I've just gone with a whole array of different skin tones, headdress, body colors, all those sorts of things. And we know we've got loads and loads of different colored timbers, so you can do either or. You can go with color, or you can go with colored timbers themselves. So Tom, would you just pop up the picture of the finished nativity, and that gives you an idea of where we're going with this, the sort of rules behind, not rules behind it, but the sort of pictures that we're looking to get, as well as, of course, there's lots of different animals you can make. Now you can look at those on the internet. Now this one here, this is the top of a 3-tiered carousel, and this is the ending of the whole tier. Let's go down to tier 2. Oh. No, well, we'll stick with that one for a minute.
Sorry, that was the original one.
That was the original one, but
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's the finished nativity. Now those nativities you can put pretty much anywhere. I've seen them quite often on the carousel, which we're going to look at in a moment. But candle arches and just a little scene in themselves. So we're going to look at doing one of those sheep also. But there's lots of different things you can do. Camels, you can do cows, you can do pretty much any animal you want to. We're looking at doing the main features. So here we are, back to the carousel, 3-tier carousel. This is the top tier with the angels on. We then go to the middle tier. That's the bottom tier, but you're right, Tom.
I think it's good that it's the last one of these.
Yeah. You have to stop that, Sherry. So this is the middle one with the wise men on. So 3 wise men traveling around, and then the very bottom one. There we are. We've got the sheep, we've got Mary and Joseph, and the baby in the crib. I'm just going to turn my phone off, otherwise it makes weird noises behind me. Okay, so that's the plan. We've got, like usual, I try and stick to an hour for the people watching it recorded and the people watching it live. You've got busy lives to to go to. So I'm going to start easy, really. I'm going to start with one of the wise men. Yes, Tom.
A couple of questions, mate. Glenn wants to know, is there a written plan available for the more complicated designs? If not, could there be?
Oh, there could be. Yeah, we've got lots of things on the go, actually. So I spoke to Bob B, who's in there, in the chat there somewhere, and we were looking at the Angels and Miners of Light. I want to get them published properly. I've got them on Etsy. Well, I haven't got them on Etsy at the moment. I plan to, but I want to get them published as proper books. We're working on the Nutcracker at the moment. But yes, I mean, we had the 3-tiered carousel way back, and I've had even the nativity scene way back in Wood Turning magazine. Whether you can still get those back issues or not, I'm not sure. But all that information that I've taken, I've recorded, and that will be, I will get to publishing those at some point. Yes, I don't have them at the moment.
And just one from Callum. Hi, Callum. What's the largest size of Forcer bit did you use first on the soft jaws doing when you did the pendants?
50 mil, Callum. So 50 mil. So open that. Open the jaws to. Open the jaws till you got a 6 mil gap between each jaw. Once you've done that, you're going to clamp onto a piece of dowel. So they're solid when you drill, and then clamp the chuck and the jaws down to the pillar drill. 50 mil, 40 mil, 30 mil. Big one first, because that then creates the center point to locate the next one and the next one. 3 mil depth. All right. Good, good. Right. So wise man is our first job. Now, when it comes to the wise man, where should we go? So let's go number 2, Tom. When it comes to the wise man, there's not a huge amount to them. If I'm honest with you, there's 2 versions. Let me get them both up in front of the camera. 2 versions, but you mix and match. You might want to do something completely different. They're a fairly sort of simple shape. We've got a flat sanded on the top of this one. We've got a flat sand on the top and one on the bottom. So it looks like this cape is coming around and pinching in where his hands are. So it's entirely up to you. And mix and match them up as well. I think my thought is they look better when they're sort of individual as opposed to all the same. So I like to do that. But we've got the main body. We've got the head. We've got a hat of varying types. And again, I've gone with slightly different hats. And it's entirely up to you what type of hat you'd like to go with. But their hats are separate. I find it easier to do the hat separate because you can get color. You can alternate your timbers and so on. Then your hands are glued in via a tenon, a little mortise and tenon, and then whatever vessel you want containing the gold, frankincense, and myrrh on the top. So these are all really quite straightforward pieces. And I know I say it an awful lot, but this is designed not to be a difficult project. This is designed with the beginner in mind, which most of my students are. So we're going to look to start one of those. Now, again, options for you. Let's get a couple of pieces of timber out. So 2 pieces of timber. This is one I'm going to turn into a wise man. This is a piece of pine, just a simple piece of. This is actually an old window frame. This piece. But we've got a 6 mil hole drilled here. So this is going to be the first one I'll show you. And we'll create the whole piece from there. Alternatively, you can have a piece that's roughed down, got a hole point for a chuck here, and you can turn the piece and pass it off. So, it's really down to you as to the best way you want to do this. There's no one way I don't think no one way is easier or harder than the other. So really, really up to you. So let's do the one with the hole in, and I'm going to use a light ball drive for that. That's just going to pop in there. We'll have a ring center on the tailstock. What's happening to my microphone today? Because it's coming around. Yes.
Alan wants to know, have you ever used, is it Odie's oil or Oddie's oil?
I have a jar of it right in there. I picked up another batch at Harrogate. So yes, I have. More on, not on my turning, more on my tables, tabletops, all the flat work, that sort of thing. Sometimes on chopping boards. It works really, really nicely. I tend to put it on. You can buff it on, buff it off. I tend to put it on with Weatherax white on a oscillating sander. For me, it works really, really well. So it's a mixture of that really, and the other thing I use is Rubio Monaco as well. So I quite like the Rubio Monaco. And then over the top of whatever I'm using, if it's a tabletop, for instance, I will go with black. What is it called again? The N3 Nano, which is a ceramic coating, which really helps. That's from Blacktail Studios. So the N3 Nano coating, that really works over the top. Combining the two it gives you a really hard finish. And I'm not linked to any of those, so it's just what I found worked better. So, yes, Tom, any more?
Well, no, Callum's made a very good suggestion. I said, with a wise man, would you think he would be carrying a flagon of cider? I think many a wise man.
And maybe a beanie hat.
And maybe
as well, Tom. There we go. So, little light pull drive. So this is how simple this is. If you wanted to make a bundle now, we're getting into the point, or the time of year, the proximity to Christmas that we're now thinking of next year. So let's start building stock, everybody, for next year. Remember what I said earlier. My Christmas finishes in March, starts again in the 1st of August. So now we're starting to look at our stock levels. There are a few last-minute shoppers out there. We've got the shop next door, and you can see people. There's a little bit more of an urgency in their step when they walk in the shop now, and looking around frantically as to what to buy. So that's quite nice, quite humorous. Let's start the shape. Remember the shape we're going for. It's quite a simple shape. Let's get that out of the way. So it's just a bullet shape, little curved convex curve. Use the best tool no, not the best tool. There's right tools for the jobs and wrong, but on this particular job, there's several right tools. Just extraction open. There's several right tools for this job, but my go-to is going to be the skew. Always for this sort of thing. It's a lovely curve to be able to recreate with the skew. So a little bit of a sharpen of the skew. Remember with your skews and with most tools really, keep them sharp. Don't wait for them to go blunt. A little bit of a touch up. I've just been making few more last minute Christmas orders and doing some pendants. So they've been hybrid blanks and resin. So it's just taking the edge off that skew. So just a little bit of a touch up. And I'm going to do just a little hint of a back curve down to the bottom of the figure. And then we're coming over to a dull point at the top. Let's go a bit faster than that. Little bit of waste. So we want to, where that center is at the moment, that's going to create a little ring or a little hole in the center. So you've got to allow waste. You've got to be able to take that away. What's that? About 2.5 to 3 mil. So nearly an eighth of an inch. Right the way over, and it's a dull point, so it's not an actual point there. That's about it. That's good. So we can start thinking about taking that away. And because we're using a light pull drive, I can pretty much go all the way. Rolling right the way over. And I think now we can take that off. So slacken off the tailstock a little bit. Let's go with our, just going to use my lathe knife just to part off. There we are. So this is the Russian lathe knife that Mark, Gentleman Turner, gifted me. I use that one for parting quite a lot. That's a really nice tool. 5-degree bevel angle on both sides, so it's great for just slicing really neatly. Where if you use a parting tool and that sort of thing, it will tend to tear up the grain. But yeah, that's a good one. I get to use that quite often. At that point, you can start sanding. So all the problem areas are going to be your end grain. Not so much because we use that lathe knife. We're held on a 6mm hole with the light pull drive. Yes, Tom.
Anyway, Scott wants to know, when you prep the material, how do you ensure the base of the figure is flat and perfectly perpendicular to your light pull drive?
I don't, to be honest. I cut it on the bandsaw. So the way I cut on the bandsaw is I'll pass the timber through, then I'll flip it, use the small line that the bandsaw blade made to finish the cut. So that gives me a nice straight edge. We can sand the bottom of these on the disc sander afterwards anyway. That's as complicated as I really want to make it. It's not one of those jobs, one of those projects where it has to be dead right, dead true. It will look spot on by the time we finish. Yes.
And Andy wants to know, will honing with the diamond cards sharpen a brand new cold in where the signature skew enough, or should they be ground on a wheel first?
No, don't touch them on a wheel. Literally just hone them on a diamond stone first. No need to go to any mechanical sharpener. I always say usually 1 in 10 or 1 in 8 maybe trips to the sharpening system. And then even then, when I do that, I tend to go to a tool mech or a CBM wheel as opposed to a bench grinder. Just really because they're a little bit finer. So my CBN's 180 and the tool mech obviously is really, really fine. And then a hone afterwards. So no, every skew chisel that I've got, I will never replace. It's a lifetime purchase because of that reason. There we go. So we've got that nice little bullet shape. So what we were talking about earlier, this is the area that's nice and it's pretty flat actually. So all we're going to do is put the sanding discs on later and just sand that a little bit flatter. Okay, so that's the first bit that we need to do. So next thing we're going to do is a head. So we get chucks involved now. So we can take that center out. Pop that to one side. Let's go with small pin jaws. And let's go. So a head for that one. I'll use a piece of, let's go with a piece of oak. We are going to glue some of this together in a minute as well, so we'll make sure it's all finished. I do want to get one of those sheep done also. I think the sheep's quite a good one. There we are. But these, at the moment, these pieces are very, very straightforward. Skew chisel now. Let's go with the smaller skew. So nice and quick with our lathe speed. There we are. And again, same sort of thing. It's just a round over. Little bit of sanding. Then a part off. Let's go thin with our parting tool. So a nice flat top, because we're going to have a hat on here, remember. So fairly flat, well, completely flat on that area there. Then when we actually stick together in a second, we're going to have a head there, okay, with the hat ready to go on top. So we're going to get the sander going in a second. We're going to go to another piece of timber, bigger in diameter. Before anybody asks, no, I don't have the sizes because they're all different. So you make them to suit yourself. That one, roughly, is 75 mil in terms of its depth, so 3 inches by around about 35 millimeters. So what's that, inch and 5/8, I guess. no, a little bit less, inch and a half maybe, in terms of depth, thickness here. So that's the rough dimension. They're all different. Like I say, we can have that size. We can equally have that size. Doesn't really matter. Whatever your scraps of wood are, whatever you want your nativity to fit on. To fit on to dress. It's up to you. Whatever space you have. So let's go bigger again now. So we're going to go with a piece of pine, bit of Scandinavian redwood they call it, which is benchtop joinery softwood. Get it roughly centered. There we are. Same thing. Just going to create a shape. Rough down with my skew first. There we are, nice and round. So let's just make sure that diameter is okay. Diameter's fine. So let's go. There we are. Everything we do, everything I like to show you, it's all a way of practicing. You know, what with all the skew practice cuts that we're doing here, rolling these beads or beading a pine tool, spindle gouge. It's all a way of practicing. So you use whatever tools you want to. I'd also argue maybe use the tools you're uncomfortable with. Once you get away from pressure turning, so you've gone past deadlines and things like that, then yeah, exactly. Do put yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit. Let's just part that one off. Now we're going to start looking at sanding in a minute, but whilst we've got all these little bits on here, and I'll keep this bit of timber here, we'll just take a little bit more away. Let's do the gift, whatever gift you're going to be giving, and a pair of hands, of course. So down in size, we'll do the little vessel first. I don't know what shape that is. What shape is that, Tom? What am I turning?
Strange gift.
This is a very strange gift. Let's go. Oh, I'll tell you what. That looks more like it might contain something precious. Here we are again. I'll do a token gesture just because. A little bit of sanding, maybe a bit of airbrushing if you wanted to go colors, maybe a bit of paint pens, whatever, really, just to get a color on there. Then we can part off. And I would say, you know, you're going to make 3 wise men, I guess. So do all the gifts, do all the bodies, you know, do them all at the same time rather than doing what I'm doing, stopping the lathe, changing chuck, changing bits of timber, do all of the bits at the same time. Yes, Tom.
Edinator 2000 has come up with a question. Have you any tips of rolling beads with the smallest of your skews? He said he's getting better with both the large and the medium, but the smaller one is still quite jumpy.
That's probably because, Ed, that you think about the bottom half when we're planing, there's less of it there. So it's harder to keep it on that bottom half when you're rolling over the bead. Same thing. It's easier to stray up when you're using a smaller tool. When you come over and see me next year, we'll look at that. Just remind me We'll play with that. Let's go down for the hands. So I'm going to put a little hole of 3 mil in the body of our wise man, just so we can then attach the hands. There we are. And I need a 1/8 parting tool, otherwise my calipers won't fit in the hole. And these are bent calipers as well, so that doesn't help. Here we are, 3 mil. So a pair of hands, a pair of clenched hands. You just got it in this sort of size. I do the same thing with smokers. We're thinking Lego hands here. That's all we're thinking. There's no, you know, we're not going to get biologically correct with this sort of thing. So you're giving the impression of a pair of hands like this, sort of holding something. Okay, we'll sand a little flat on there as well in a minute, then part off. Okay, I think that's all the parts for that. So let's do some sanding and some gluing, and then we'll move on to a sheep. Sanding, so we need to go to sea jaws. How are we doing for questions, Tom, whilst I'm changing things over?
No more at the minute.
We're all good?
Yeah.
Good. So let's go. I got the big sanding disc. I'm going to kick that one out of the way. Go with sea jaws. Calipers and just go to one side. So big disc, just because I've got a nice fine grit on there at the moment. Hello, darkness, my old friend.
My calculation was off.
There we are, dust extraction on. And we'll do a bit of sanding. So a couple of things we've got to sand, or a few things we've got to sand. First of all, let's go top of the head. So there is a small a little nib on there. So just the tiniest of nibs. So lay speed is 0, turn the lathe on. We don't want to go too fast, probably 800 to 900 on the size of this disc. There we go. That's done. Let's go the little gift. Just got to sand again, that little nib off. Done. Top of the headgear, same thing. Done. Don't need to do anything to, oh yes I do. I was about to say don't need to do anything to the hand. Now I'm going to have to probably do this off camera, but it's the tiniest little touch on the top surface because I want to hold, my fingers are far too fat for you to see, I think. We got to hold, where are we there? That little gift on top of the hand. So we need flat on flat, basically. So I've just done that. Let's get that dust extractor around. This is the biggest bit of sanding. So on the body itself, I'm going to have, you can just see the hole, which I'm going to enlarge at the moment. That's going to be for where, that's going to be where he's holding the gift. But we want to do a flat for the head, and we want to do the main body flat. So let's go. There first. There we are. Little flat on the head to be able to glue onto that. let's just stop the camera. See if what's this camera here, Tom, doing? Let's have a look. So now you see we've got the two flats there. That should now, there we are, with a nice flat join, be able to be glued onto that surface. In turn, the hat can be glued onto the head, and you're pretty much ready to go. One thing we haven't done yet, let's just drill that small hole in the body, so take the hands. Now, I'm not going to do that with cordless drill. We're going to do that with the lathe, because if I've got a cordless drill in one hand, the workpiece in the other, inevitably at some point I'll slip, and everything will go wrong. So 3mm drill bit, remember we had. Lathe speed to 0, turn the lathe on. I've really thumped that into the lathe. Now I'm going to pop the mark for the drill. Lathe speed up a little bit. Hands out the way, nice sharp drill bit. You're trying to use a blunt drill bit, then inevitably you're going to have to push hard. And the minute you push hard, you slip. Nice and upright. Once that's nice and upright with your glue, you can pop the gift on the top. Let's glue those up. So that's gluing whilst we're making a couple of the other figures. Just turn my mic off a second, Tom. I'm just going to rearrange my mic. That's better. Right, we'll put that drill bit out of the way before I lose it. So, any questions on our wise men? We'll glue them up now so we can get that done for you. It's dead simple things to build those. Quite a few options in colours, in headgear, in the gifts they're holding. Whether you want to use have a crook with one of them, loads of different things. You can even have them seated, kneeling, that sort of thing. So yeah, loads of options. So look, I've got a little bit of epoxy resin glue, by far the strongest. And also epoxy resin glue, you don't have to wait ages for. So this is a 5-minute setting. So literally by the time I've finished turning that other character in a moment, this will be dry. If you use wood glue, you know what it's like. You've got to wait an hour at least before it starts to go off. And if you use super glue, generally it goes all over the place. You end up sticking your fingers to everything. So, right, let's start with, put the head on the hat. Wherever you want me, Tom, down near the lathe. Yeah, sorry. I'll let the camera see this in a minute. Let me just get it together. Initially, with this one, the tack is excellent. If you could give yourself a good firm press together to start with, then you get a good tack, a good initial grab. So that, I'll lie this fella down just to dry. There we are, good amount of pressure, a little bit on the bottom of our gift. All right, we'll just leave him just for a while, semi-lying down, just to dry whilst we get on and turn something else. Wherever I have a space. There. Have a little rest for 5 minutes. Yes, Tom.
Callum's asked, he's been using black CA glue, but rather use Z-Poxy. Can't get black. Any other products you can suggest?
Rather than Z-Poxy?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. What have I got over there? The O2. The O2. Hang on, Callum. Let me go get something. I'm going to walk straight past the cameras. Let me go get one. Black O2. That's O3, not O2. I'm talking about O3. Which camera? Oh, number 2. There we are. So that one there, that's black. And then you got accelerator.
Oh, Callum says black resin, not CA.
Oh, black resin. So what was the options that he had already?
Using black resin glue, but rather than use Z-Poxy, but he can't forget black because he.
Okay, I have a feeling that Accents Tools do a specific black resin. I'm not 100%, but I believe they do. If not, then a black pigment for your resin. So go for normal resin and put your black pigments in. There's loads out there. I think I've probably got 4 or 5 different types in the cabinet over there. But yeah, just black resin, and they make it as black as you want. Depends on how black. Do you want a complete pitch black? Then you have to put a good amount of resin in, sort of thing. But no, it would be the pigment that creates the color. You can get black resin, and I think most of the resin companies will do it. But it's just worth having a chat with them. But I got a feeling Accents to do one. I'm not entirely sure, but I think so. Okay, sheep. You're expert on sheep, Tom. Surely.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're so the first live we're going to do back after Christmas is January. It's the first week of January, isn't it, Tom? We can't do the Thursday. Is it the January one we can't do the Thursday?
What's the 9th? We're talking about the 9th. I can't do the 9th.
Can't do the 9th. This is the story I wanted to tell. So we're going to change it to the Wednesday or the Friday. But we can't do the 9th because you're picking up what?
Some cows.
You're picking up some cows.
Yeah.
So livestock is stopping that one. So we'll give you a little bit more information about that, everybody. It's not the cows, as to when we're going to do the next live. But our plan is to not stop. January will quieten down for us here. We certainly don't plan on doing any courses. The shop will go much quieter, of course. So we're going to keep the lives up and running. So yes. So sheep, we're going to make it white-ish. This is a bit sycamore, but use anything you want. You could put a black sheep in the middle if you wanted to. But yeah, let's go with the sycamore. It's far too big at the moment for our wise man. So we just use your imagination on this one. If I go too small, then you won't see what we're doing. So I'll take it down a little bit, but not too much. That one. So O'Donnell jaws. Just literally roughing down to a cylinder. Want me to adjust that camera, Tom? Where is it? He wants to be toward me, doesn't he? There you go. It's a bit of sycamore. There we are. So we've got to divide this up now. This is going to be the body. The body's a very, very simple shape, as is the head, as are the ears. You can see the sort of shape that we're going for there. So it's a fairly flat front face, slightly more elongated back. You can put another little lump on the back as the tail if you want to. Again, that's entirely up to you. But let's start with the front. So we'll come around with a spindle gouge or skew, whichever you're happiest with. Let's get back to the skew. The tail, then the front. There we go, and then start sanding. When you finish sanding, then you can come to part off again. Yes, you can part off with a parting tool, but remember what I said, the finish won't be as good if you do it with a skew or a spindle. Here we are. A little bit of hand sanding afterwards, either on your sanding disc or by hand like this, just to clean up. That will be, our flats will be sanded on there again in a moment as well. But let's turn the head next, keeping everything in balance. So that's where we are. We got the head a little bit smaller than the first sheet, but we just got that body done. Over to the head, and I have, let's go another bit of sycamore. I'm not sure whether this chuck will be, the jaws will go down quite big enough, small enough on here. So let's just, not a chance, not a chance. Oh, no, they're all right. Good. So same thing again, pretty much the same shape, dead simple. Like I said, an easier project than, certainly than the carousels that we've done last week, only because, sorry, the week before, only because there's fewer parts, so they're simple shapes. And remember, this isn't a speed thing. We're not trying to do this in any particular speed. Well, I am, only just to get it into the hour that I want to get it into. There is no need to be quick when doing these. Have fun with it. Enjoy it. I suspect most of the time it'll only be you in the workshop. So don't try and break any records. Head we're trying to do here, slightly duller on the nose. There we are. So then do your sanding. Once you've done your sanding, part off. Off your pops. A little bit of hand sanding on the ends. Then so far we have almost ready. Nope, that's the other way around. Just need a pair of ears next. That's all we need. And then we'll start sanding flats. Done slightly differently. So we're going to do, yes, we're going to turn them with, I'm trying to explain this properly. We're going to turn two separate beads now and sacrifice one half of it. So rather than split turning or turning one shape then cutting through. We're going to do both ears, and I'll explain why as we get to do it. I just found it so much easier. And when we're working with these small pieces, the difficult bit is physically holding them when you're sanding flats. The amount that have gone on the floor or down the dust extractor is probably 50%. Your fingers, either that or you lose a fingernail or you start sanding away your fingers. You know, we want to obviously avoid. Yes, Tom.
A few questions. Gentleman Returner wants to know, did you have a go at the Richard Finley's festive challenge this year, the bell with the skew?
I've been far too busy, Mark. I haven't had a go at that. I never get involved in any Richard's challenges because I'll embarrass myself.
And Michael wants to know, he's just finished turning some resin wood pendants, but he's getting the tiniest, hardly visible dot in the center. Do you have any ideas what I'm doing wrong? It's getting the tiniest.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not removing with another offset, so what's happening is your final cut is either above or below center point. The easiest way around that to avoid that is put your skew on its side. So, and use it as a scraper flat on the tool rest and just drift up and down. Just move the hand literally up and down over center point, and just that will slowly clear that way with a very light touch. And then you're good to sand. That they will drift away. I've been doing that just today, and it definitely works. Yes, Tom.
And Edinator 2000 wants to know, where can he find one of those lathe knives?
Mark, I don't suppose if you're there, Gentleman Turner, Mark Beckett, if you're there, would you put in the link to where, because this was gifted from Mark, so Mark got it for me, but I understand it's a forge in Portugal. It was hand forged there. I have seen some on Etsy. Some Polish makers have been making them as well. But this one's really good. I like this one. And this is from Mark. So, Mark, if you have that to hand, if you maybe put that in the chat, that'd be great. Okay. Small skew. And the smaller bit of timber, smaller diameter, we're going to go a little bit quicker. So 2,000 revs for me here. And we're just going to push-pull cut. So that's back and forward. And we're doing exactly the same shape as we did the ear. Sorry, as we did the head. Oh, went over a little bit too far. That's better. That's better. A little bit of a nib to get rid of. There we are. That's one. Is that going to be a bit big? No, that's fine. That's one side. So at the moment, we were going to take that out. Well, you can use the rest of this, but first of all, you need to sand the side. So we're going to take that one out. We're going to do one more. So we've got a similar size right there. That's good. So we've got all parts of our little sheep done. We'll do the same thing with them in a minute. We'll glue them together, but we first need to sand. So let's get that set up. The grit size on here is a 240, so it's much finer than most of the other times I've used the sanding disc for you. So this one, for instance, is a 120 on there, so it's a much coarser version. So it's a much finer disc. It's going to leave less scratches and things like that behind because of what we're doing. So dust extraction on. Let's sand the body first. So we need to have this sheep sat or laid down. So we're going to flatten the body. There we are. Just pop to number 3 camera a minute, Tom. Lovely. So you can see then that we've got that body sat down nice and flat on the bench. Then we need to create a point for its head to sit. That's it. Nice flat. Then we're going to do the same on the head. That's good. I'll show you off on camera in a minute, guys. But that's basically just a flat there on the head. And now what I found interesting bit, the easiest way to do these ears. Now I'm going to do it so you can see. But basically now I have a handle to hold whilst we do these flats. Here we are. So we have one more. Good, done. Let me dismantle this lot and I'll show you what we've done. I'll get the camera right on it so you can see. So if you look now, I'll get that back in position. You can see that we've taken all of that side of this one away. So it's nice and flat on that side. We can now go and part that off if you want to. You can do that with a skew. You can just do it with a saw and then sand it flat if you want to. But it just means that now we have hands free again, so I can get my fingers out of the way. I will just skew that off, making sure you don't lose it down the extractor again. May speed a bit higher. Just one. Number 2 up. Now we'll get that gluing and show you exactly what we've been doing there. Yes, Tom. Questions?
Yeah, Callum wants to know, he's looking to use a jaw which won't mark the timber, but bigger size than the cylinder jaws. Any suggestions?
So something with a dovetail, I'm guessing.
And I do think I've didn't have my mic on then. So
I can't ask the question again. Yeah.
Yes, Callum wants to know, he's looking to use a jaw which won't mark the timber, but bigger size than a cylinder jaws.
Go with A+. Or, of course, wood plate jaws. I mean, so wood plate jaws are the ones that I use for the pendants. So these are wood plate jaws, and I've just created my own jaw on the inside. So go to number 2, Tom. So there we go. So I can create my own grip there. So wood plate jaws, this is the wood plate bit, and then you attach your own plywood to it and cut your own jaw. So you make your own jaw, basically. Alternatively, if you didn't want to go to that much messing around, then something like the A+. So these are Let me just measure across with them closed, which we don't do, of course. You always add the optimum. So the smallest diameter internally on that one is 3 7/8 or 74 mil. All right, so if I open that up to 6 mil internally, that is about 82 mil. Okay, so that's quite a good size, that one. A bit bigger than, well, quite a lot bigger than the cylinders. And if you're talking cylinder jaws, you're talking the bigger cylinder jaws, because of course there are the OD2s, the O'Donnell 2-inch. So that's another option. But if you're talking the bigger ones, and that's pretty much as big as cylinder jaws, it's pretty much the same size. But I would go those two options personally, depending on what the project is. You know, when you say you don't, you know, ones that don't mark, then truly don't mark, then it'd be nylon or wooden jaws. Nylon jaws are another option, of course. Yes, mate. No? There we go. Got those there. A little bit of glue, a little bit of that epoxy. That's a good thing about this stuff. It's because it's a mix. You just literally 50-50, little or as much as you like. And away you go. Right. Let's do this on camera. So I'll put the head on first. What I would normally do is get the head on and leave it. We probably won't do that. There we are. And it's the initial tack that you do. So if you push hard, you'll give it a proper push. Oh, I haven't put flats on the head for the ears. So we definitely will wait for this to dry before we do the next bit. There we are. If you push down nice and hard, it sort of stays there on its own. The ears in a minute are going to come down the side. Well, you can just make that out my fingers being in the way. Let's let that dry. I'll then sand the flats on the side of the head for the ears, and we'll do that. Okay. There we go. So let's pop that to one side. Again, we'll pop it to one side. Put some of my tools away, Colin, just to give myself a good clean workspace. Everything in a place. The easiest way to keep the workshop tidy is have a place for everything. I learned that as soon as I started doing YouTube, because I'd be forever tidying up before we went live. So now everything has a place. It can be put back in that space. Okay, where are we? Let's go. I want to do Mary for you. A very, very simple shape. Remember, all we're doing here is giving you a suggestion of what she's wearing. So, like I say, you've got some crossed hands. We know how to do the hands, so I won't bother that with you. But look, we've got two sections. Now, you can, if you wish, do this in half. The trouble is, if you do it in half, I turn her around. There, you don't get that curve coming back over as if her gown is coming up over her face, over her head. It is too stark. You can get away with that on this one purely because the hair is coming down the back. You're not trying to go over the top of the head, you see. So you can do half on this figure, and then you can create another one with the other half. The same with the body, half and half. It's not a problem. But on this one, it's not. It's a little bit more considered than that. The other thing is we sand this at a very slight angle, so it's not 90 degrees. She doesn't stand 90 degrees. She's sort of leaning over the crib. So we sand that so it gives the impression of leaning forward. And that is done once this and this have been glued together. All right, so they're both sanded at that angle together. It just gives the overall picture a slightly better picture. If you just go to number 3, Tom, I think we can get an idea of what I mean. So she's just peering over the crib. Okay, so that's what we'll do. We'll do that one. That one's going to be done with a little bit, a slightly bigger timber. So I've got that. I'm going to hold that in the chuck. Doesn't have to be bigger. You can make everything to the scale that you want it to be, of course. But it's just the way I've chosen to do it here. But again, we do need to have this. I can't do this as easy when it's not held in the chuck. I can get away with the wise men because I'm sanding a flat. I'm not taking such a big cut out of the figure. This needs to be, if you don't go to the bandsaw safely in a V block, then you need to figure out a way of cutting it out on the lathe itself. So that is exactly what we're going to do. Let's go to, that's going to be the main body. This is a piece of timber. I have no idea what that is. Looks maybe Iroko, but I don't know. We'll take a beard diameter away. There we are. Let's take a bit of that diameter out. We'll whether do that with a rough and gouge. I'm going to put dust extraction on because if it is Iroko, my lungs don't really like Iroko. They react a bit to it. So I'm not suggesting that every other timber is a safe one to use. It's just my lungs react more to Iroko. I should be wearing a dust mask, but then I can't talk to you. I say this every time. I think most times anyway. When you're not here, I'm in a full face respirator. One of a couple that I have just to keep myself safe. Just down to rough form. Then you can go to skew chisel, bowl gouge, spindle gouge, whichever you're happy with to create the rest of the shape. This one, like I say, is going to wrap over the top of Mary's head. Little bit softer on that curve. And on the bottom, we don't need to, like on the wise men, we sort of brought that curve over on itself. We're not doing that on this one. The gown is sort of coming down straight. Okay, not backing in on itself, just nice and straight. We're going to put a parting tool cut where I plan to part off. That parting tool cut won't go in very deep. Where did I put a parting tool? Here. There we go. Then you would sand. I'm not going to sand too much because I'm not masked up and dust extractor's a little ways away now. But now we're going to create our cut. So if I turn the extraction off, we can start getting our pull saws out. Think about where we have to cut. It's quite an extreme cut on this one. There's a lot to take away. Hence the reason I don't sand it. So we're going to cut away. Okay. So I'm going to work with the grain. Pull saws by far for me are the best way to go here. If you're using a push saw, then it will take you forever. Yes, you can go to a bandsaw. If you go to a bandsaw, you need to have this held in a V block, otherwise you'll have an accident. Please don't try doing this on the bandsaw without a V block. But even cutting with the grain, ripping and these saws are really designed for cross cutting. So if you're ripping, they're cutting really quickly still. A push saw wouldn't do this, or you'd buckle the saw, all sorts. There we are, we're through. Didn't take 5 seconds. We're going to go with a piece of that pine or beech, maybe even in a minute. But then we can part off properly. That piece will come off halfway through that process. So be prepared for that. Give the parting tool a little bit of space. Yeah, before I do that, Tom, do you want to ask a question?
Terry has made a point that Glenn and Lisa Tingle, they do use the Accidents of Dust mask, and the mic doesn't seem to cause any problems. So it might be worth having a go.
Oh, right, okay.
At some stage, we can do some test ones. Maybe.
Yeah, I'll have a look at Mike's. The video. Yeah, Emma Cook as well. She does. It's just because I guess just haven't been used to it, I suppose. But no, definitely, it's it's a demonstrator's thing, isn't it? Really, we've all got to protect ourselves. There we are, part off. You could choose now to cut that off if you want to. So get that saw back on there and just cut off. Which may have stopped that, Tom. Let's just pop that back on again. Let's just come off a little bit too aggressively for my liking. There we go. So there we've got that nice big flat area without putting my fingers in peril. Well, apart from that, just flying off the lathe. So yes, we're going to do a little bit of sanding to this. And remember, we're going to sand this, not sand the bottom to that angle until we've got that front face glued on as well. So we've got to sand the face, then we've got to glue it on, then we're going to sand it to shape again. And we're going to sand our sheep at the same time then as well. Yes, Tom.
Gentlewood says, how about a jig with a chuck body on it to use on a bandsaw so the wood is held in the chuck when sawn?
Oh, I will wait with interest to your drawings, Mark, or pictures or whatever.
And Callum's asked, have you seen Jason recently?
I haven't seen Jason. Well, I think the last time I saw Jason, we saw Jason, didn't we? It was about 3 weeks ago he popped in.
Yeah.
Something like that, 3 weeks ago, yes. Yeah, watch the space. Jason's going to be doing one of his box courses up here. So, yeah, that'd be coming in, I think it's coming in March. So if anybody's interested in box turning here in the workshop, then he'll be doing that then. But no, he's doing all right. His hearing's adjusting. So we're talking about Jason Breach, everybody. He's just had a cochlear implant fitted. And if you know anybody or if you've had it done yourself, you know that it takes a while for the brain to engage with the mechanism itself and stop hearing weird noises and hearing the correct ones. So yeah, he's just going through that process of adjustment at the moment. And whilst we're talking about process of adjustment, if anybody, I've seen in the chat, there's a few questions on Nick Hagar. We are still going through the process. He's still going through the process of tests, a plan being developed, and yeah, just feeling rubbish really at the moment. So without putting a downer on anything, I spoke to him today. He's just got to go through all of those visits to the hospital, procedures being done, medication being given, and a plan being formulated for the year ahead. Okay, so yeah, I will keep filling you in when I find out more. Okay. It'd be lovely to think maybe one day we might be able to see him here and he can tell himself. But I'll keep you informed in the meantime. Okay. Diameter-wise, that bit of timber is already small enough. So all I'll do is just clean it up. This is a very different shape. A little bit more pointed. There we are. I think that should be enough. We're only using a small portion of that, but that looks pretty good. Parting tool cutting where I want to part off. There, and then we'll cut through. This is a thin slither, so you could do a couple of these on this bit. So let's get our saw back in play again. Tiniest little slither. There we go. Good. So that will eventually, and the good thing here, you can position this where you want it to be. So for instance, look, if that you've done that and now there's no room for the head. Okay, so let's just bring it down a little bit because we know that in a minute we're going to sand this at an angle. So Mary's sort of looking forward over the crib. So we'll do that now. We'll sand those nice and flat and maybe do a head. Let's take that out of the chuck. Put the sander back on. Sand our sheep's head, and we'll put the sheep ears on as well. Get in there. Get in there. To one side. Grand. So, dust extractor. We'll sand the front face first. Got to sand a couple of flats from a sheep's head, which I forgot to do earlier. Great. There we are. Let's get that glued up, and then we're going to sand the whole thing into position. A little bit of light on the subject. Maybe going to number 3, Tom. Please. And we're nearly there. Incidentally, if you had to cut anything, because I do cut things on the bandsaw that are round, but that's what I would use. That's my little V block. That V block has a cut going up through here to about halfway. It has a 45 on it, and it has a 90 on it as well. So that gets used an awful lot, both for bandsaw cutting and for cutting by hand with the pull saw as well. Just everything to keep me safe. A little bit more glue in, and I think we're nearly there. Okay, let's get some ears on our sheep first, and then we go back to Mary. A little dab. Bearing in mind, we've not sanded anything properly, really. Okay, so we have our little sheep's ears just drooping down. And he's going to sit, he or she's going to sit there, just drying away. Mary, she's going to have her shawl just glued on in place, leaving room for the face. Let's put her around about there. There we are. So this section here, this bit that's overhanging, that's going to be cut off. And then the whole thing is going to have an angle just popped sort of like that, just so she then leans forward looking over the manger. And then a little disc just turned and on to that front face. Don't have to worry about features or anything like that. It literally is just the impression of the external shape, the silhouette. That's what we're trying to create. Okay. Any questions, Tom? Any questions on what we've done, chucking systems, turning in general?
No,
we're all good?
I think we're all good.
We're all good, okay. Let's get our little sheep just into shot there.
Shine.
Yeah, if you would. So I've almost got a flockish. So if we work with perspective looks, look, that one's smaller because it's further away. And then
classic Father Ted.
When I get a few more of these wise men up on the screen. We won't work with perspective when it comes to the wise men. Mary, without hands, we don't have the manger at the moment, but that's a very simple barrel shape for the manger, and a little jelly bean basically that goes on top. Just pop the picture back, Tom, would you? The main picture of our nativity scene. That'd be the other main picture. That's the one. So there we are. You can see the little manger is literally just a barrel shape, but that flat sanded, and then the jelly bean shape just on top, little figure 8, basically. But yeah, it's just a fun thing. I mean, with a lot of the things that we're doing here, if you remember the bird video that we done the other day when we were creating the oyster catcher, the hummingbirds, all those sorts of things, it's the impression of the shape, and we can do that so many projects in our turning, and they're fun to make and great for seasonal gifts as well, seasonal Christmassy things. So no, really enjoyed that one. I hope you enjoyed that one. Are we done with gifts? Come on round, Tom. We've got to say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. If that's it's definitely a Merry Christmas from us, isn't it? Happy Holidays if it's not you. But yes, Happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, Farmer Tom, everybody. Also, Farmer Tom. Yes.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
So yeah, beanie hat. Brilliant.
Yeah, pretty much all year round now.
Should be red and white.
All the hair's going, so got to keep it protected. Yeah.
So have a great Christmas, great holiday. We're going to see you in January. Remember, we're just changing the days around a little bit so Tom can pick up his cows. And then it's going to start again every fortnight, Thursday, 4:15. So don't forget, if you like what you see, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and just hit the notifications button to let you know when we're doing more of these videos. Thanks so much for joining in with the questions as well, because that generates a huge amount of conversation, and at the end of the day is more educational for everybody. It certainly helps me out as well. Nice to know that we've got this lovely community started. So have a wonderful Christmas, everybody. Goodbye.